Bonjour et bienvenue à un troisième extrait de la vidéo d'une conférence de Fred Gallo sur l'accès à la santé et le principe Michelange. Comme professionnels de santé, comme thérapeute, nous sommes souvent confrontés à la souffrance de nos patients, de nos clients. Parfois, cette souffrance est immense et nous voulons être à la fois empathique, mais aussi rester stable pour pouvoir bien aider. Comment peut-on faire ça? Comment garder notre stabilité interne face à la souffrance? Venez découvrir. The other question that occurred to me was, I found that really impressive when you talked about the clock synchronizing and the therapist being in a state of health. I think this is also something that we share with the view of Milton Erickson in his hypnotherapy. Yeah. But what I was thinking about was of some of my colleagues who are working with severe trauma patients, and I was wondering how can we stay in a state of health when, on the other hand, we need empathy for people who are, for example, at the moment we have the war in Ukraine, and we have many refugees who have really lived through hell, and then you listen to their stories, and of course you're in empathy, and how not to get caught up in that. What would be your suggestion?
And it's very common to get caught up in it because you identify with what the person's going through. And I think of it as there's a difference between, I think words like sympathy, empathy, and compassion, there's a difference, okay? Compassion, I prefer to come from compassion. And compassion is you recognize that this is a human predicament that this person's going through, human, and you feel, how can I put it? You feel, I guess compassion is kind of like a love for them, okay? And you know they're going through a lot, and but you don't go into sympathy, because when you're into sympathy, it's like you're identifying with it as though it's happening to you. I'm relating it to how did this happen to my children or whatever, okay? And then I feel terrible, and that lowers my spirit, okay? And it's not unusual for that to happen, but when you catch that happening, you realize that I just got caught up in that, and I'm not being there for them at this point. I'm kind of caught up in my own thing, and so you go back and you listen, and you and you look at their heart, their soul, and you listen, but you listen without getting really caught up in distress. I mean, you don't want to be what is it? Looking for the right word. You don't want to be not caring. You know, that wouldn't be good for you as a therapist either, and I don't think that would be good for the client. You care, but it isn't sympathy. It isn't like you're not stepping into their shoes and feeling that same way. I'm still coming from this compassion, this love and compassion. And so they say something like, this terrible thing. You say, I feel bad for you. You maybe say, or it's, and you listen, and you keep your eye on the soul, and you as much as you can stay in this healthy state, because that's going to help them. If you really care, then that's the state to be in. That will help them come out, okay? But then you have to have something you can deliver. And what I find is, people that have long-term trauma, that it goes way back, the relationship is going to be the most important thing at first. okay? You got to really have that connection with them first. If it's a single incident trauma, if it's they just had some bad thing happen and they're caught up in that, but generally they're in fairly good health, you still want to have a connection. There's still rapport is always, say, job number one. But then you can fairly quickly go into a technique. You can fairly quickly do tapping, or some people use EMDR or somatic experiencing. There's many different techniques, but you can more efficiently treat whenever that's a situation. But always, the first thing is to be in this state of compassion. Does that make sense?